Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Is the Book of Boba Fett getting a second season on Disney Plus? Has been quite a question for the better part of almost 2 years at this point, and it is exactly what we're going to be discussing in today's video with a brand new bit of a tease and adding onto that resume of a possible potential Book of Boba Fett Season 2. Of course, we're going to go ahead, we're going to hop right on into it, break it all down for you guys, everything that we know and everything that we're anticipating right now. Before we do though, however, grab the subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. And so, as I had just mentioned there, Ming-Na Wen recently came out to tease some speculation and on how she really is anticipating and wanting for a second season of the Book of Boba Fett Season 2, specifically on Disney Plus, of course, not just returning in any other Mandoverse project, whether it's one of the many different shows going on the streaming platform, or if it's one of the upcoming anticipated movies, such as The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, or the Thrawn movie. That's more of a cultivation movie by Dave Filoni, although I think that that's a very high probability that that's going to be the case for those movies. That's besides the point. This video is specifically about the Book of Boba Fett, that show getting a second season. I think it's something that's honestly kind of needed to carve out those characters just a little bit more, especially before we get them on the silver screen, on the big screen, for a theatrical release. So in this video, we're going to take a quick read from dorksideoftheforce.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there, as well as an overall garnering source. So it's been about over 2 years since the Book of Boba Fett Season 1 had ended, and Disney has still not announced or confirmed whether the series will return for a second season. Alongside that, remembering back to the summer of 2022, after we got the Book of Boba Fett, there was some seemingly confirmations that Season 2 was in the works and that it was actually happening, especially based off of a Spanish poster that had been revealed, or leaked around much rather, saying and confirming that there was supposed to be a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, at least at the time. So much more has gone on and happened, especially just within the overall industry outside and in Disney, the House of Mouse, inside of Lucasfilm. A lot has reworked and a lot has gone on creatively and just kind of industry-wise overall. However, despite all of this, we still don't have the Book of Boba Fett Season 2 clearly, but actress Ming-Na Wen, who takes on Fennec Shand in the series, both in live action and in animation, most recently in The Bad Batch, recently had stated that she would indeed like there to be a second season of the show. So speaking on the podcast known as The Sackhoff Show, which is hosted by fellow Star Wars actress Katie Sackhoff, who takes on Bo-Katan Kryze in both live action and animation as well, Ming-Na Wen was quoted as saying the following when asked about the possibility of the Book of Boba Fett being renewed for a second season, or if that was even in the works at Lucasfilm. She says that there, in quote, "I think the fans and Tamora Morrison and we should all do the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. I think that there's a lot more stories to be told, and it hasn't really quite finished and evolved, and there's more, so hopefully, I hope." Ending that quote right there. Even she agreeing onto this idea that, well, yeah, there's definitely more story to be told, there's more to carve out with these characters, especially as I had mentioned a little bit earlier on, if we're going to get them on the silver screen on the theatrical release. And being honest, I think a lot of fans out there can agree that the Book of Boba Fett it displays a different version of the character of Boba Fett than we're used to seeing, maybe throughout the original trilogy, or even throughout the Clone Wars animated show when we see him as a young boy, also in Attack of the Clones. He's very different, it almost feels, in every other appearance. He's either very mysterious, he's a young reckless kid, now he's this wiser kind of older clone that's being taken on, and kind of the story of that clone version of Boba Fett being told here in his show, of course. So it feels very much so, if you guys see what I'm getting at, of a different character. And like, yeah, sure, he appears in other media, in other books and games and all of that, of course, and within the movies and everything, but those versions of Boba Fett feels different than what we have right now, and those movies would be with that version of Boba Fett that we know from the Book of Boba Fett. So that being said, his character just doesn't feel carved out quite enough. Of course, he's a very familiar face and a familiar character, but he feels all the new. Let it also, of course, be known that this is not the first time that Ming-Na Wen herself specifically has come out to discuss something about the Book of Boba Fett Season 2, especially within the last 2 years, let alone in the last year almost, I think at this point. She has come out plenty of times to say, yeah, I really hope that they would, do a project like this and do a second season of this show here. And as I had also mentioned, or, kind of picked out a little bit at the beginning of this video, it's specifically the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. It's not other Mandoverse show. It's not The Mandalorian Season 4. It's not even the Mandalorian movies that we're getting. The Mandalorian Thrawn Cultivation movie by Dave Filoni or the Mandalorian and Grogu movie by Jon Favreau. Those are just entirely different projects all at the same time as well, and their characters do have a high possible potential to show up and appear within those projects into those movies as well. Of course, we're discussing specifically the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. And that goes entirely into the case of it being said that, well, Ming-Na Wen has been a part of a galaxy far, far away, especially in the most recent The Bad Batch third and final season. Wen has also appeared as Shand in several episodes of The Mandalorian, a reprised younger version of her in The Bad Batch, so the actress is clearly now a mainstay of a galaxy far, far away. It would certainly be great to see Ming-Na Wen reprising the role of Shand at some point within the Mandoverse within the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. It's just simply unsure and unclear if this is going to be the case, if this is going to happen. Also thinking back towards more closely to the beginning of this year, especially after the Hollywood strikes had taken place with the Writers Guild of America, the Actors Guild of America, those strikes had now concluded by the end of last year, and then from there the industry kind of just takes an overall break with the holiday season. There's just not many projects filming or going on during the holiday season, and everybody kind of comes back to it at the beginning of the new year, at the beginning and start of January. It was from there we had heard other rumors that they were working on a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, as it had appeared that a couple of prop pieces and set pieces were being made up for that project, such as pieces of the Jabba's palace, or now known as Boba's palace, I guess in this case and scenario, prop pieces of the Slave One apparently reportedly being made up, and those feel very specific to it being a part of the Book of Boba Fett Season 2, but that isn't to say and take away that they could also not have been used for a upcoming Mandalorian Season 4 or for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie as well. I think is a lot more plausible, as that looks to begin its filming and production a little bit later this year in the summertime for a May of 2026 release. And so, although it remains as it to be seen if a second season of the Book of Boba Fett will be into the cards, the fact that Ming-Na Wen wants it to happen just as much as the fans do should hopefully mean that Disney will start to listen a little bit more. Also, with Dave Filoni at more of a creative position, since we had last heard about the Book of Boba Fett, it seems a lot more plausible. It also remains to be seen if Tamora Morrison and Wen would appear and return as Boba Fett and Fennec Shand in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That isn't confirmed by any means, I just would anticipate that to be the best case scenario. Since the film is expected to begin filming in June of this year, we should shortly be receiving some definite answers soon, whether this is an official confirmation from Disney or the leaks get out. Either way, I'll be here to cover it here on the channel for you guys, always we do with all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. All the more reason to grab the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. It means the absolute world to me, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.